burning diesel, burning dinosaur bones.
So FrankenTrencher really worked pretty darn good. But I thought I would do a follow-up video because I had some questions about it, how it worked, and the design of it. And so I've got the specifications here that I printed off from Ditch Witch website. And I did a little math here to kind of show you how I come up with some of these things. So first of all, the digger chain speed. Basically, so what feet per minute was it operating at? Well, so that is run off of, the gearbox is a 1-to-1 ratio. The PTO on the 1855 is actually switched to 1,000 RPM, even with the 540 shaft. If you're interested on how I did that, I can do another video on that. Anyways, but I was not running it at 1,000 RPM. The engine was actually only at about 1,400 RPM, which puts the PTO at about 600 RPM. I've got it marked on the tach where I measured the PTO, shifted into 1,000, where it is actually at 540, and I do that because I don't have any PTO equipment that needs all 103 horsepower. So I run it at the lower engine speed because that way it's quieter and hopefully uses less fuel. But anyways, so if you figure 600 RPM on the PTO, and then the, like I said, the gearbox is 1-to-1, so that means that that outer drive sprocket is also 600 RPM. But the thing that matters there is it has 18 teeth. 18 teeth on the drive. And then the driven sprocket down there on the digger chain at the bottom has 30 teeth. That gives that a ratio of 0.6 to 1. That means that 600 RPM that I'm putting in to the drive sprocket is turning the driven sprocket down there on the digger chain at 360 RPM on the driven sprocket. So that 360 RPM down there on the driven sprocket drives the other digger chain sprocket. Now that is a 2-inch pitch, and there are 14 teeth on that digger chain drive sprocket. That means that times this 360 RPM times 14 teeth per revolution times 2-inch between each teeth over 12 inches gives you 840 feet per minute on the drive sprocket. On the digger chain. That is a little faster than stock. I don't have the spec here, but I did look it up somewhere on the manual. I can't find it again now. I think it said that it was like 650 or 700 or something. So a little faster than stock, than original equipment. And I could slow the tractor down a little bit, but where it was running, it seemed to be kind of a good sweet spot there. I'm fine with it running a little faster because I don't have every single link in the chain have a digger attachment bolted onto it. So it's not actually digging as it's not taking chunks out every link like the original probably would be. So also I do that because if I hit a rock while it's going through with the bigger gaps in there, it can get a bigger bite on a rock. So I'm hoping that running it a little bit faster makes it kind of bounce off the rocks rather than really dig in and grab, because that's what breaks stuff. So there's the first question, which was the digger chain speed, about 840 feet per minute. Now the next question that I got was, how do you drive it? Well, you saw that I'm actually just pulling myself forward with the bucket. Some people suggested, a winch, and that's a perfectly good suggestion. The reason why I don't really want a winch is because you need something to tie off on the other end, and I I have a winch, but it's not really set up for like mounting on the front of the tractor, and you'd still have to rig up hydraulics for that. But yeah, mostly it's having to tie it off on the other end. And if I'm just doing a little short area like what I was doing there, where I had to go for, I don't know, 40 feet and then turn and go like another 20 feet, I don't really know how I would, that would be hard to figure that out. So pulling myself along with the bucket works pretty good. But somebody asked if you can actually just put it in gear and drive it. Well, so I looked up those specs too. The answer is no. The reason is that 1855, the slowest gear that it has, first under, because it's got the 3-speed hydraulic shift on it. First gear under is 0 through 1.3 miles per hour. And like I said, that would be at full speed, the 1.3. I was only running at 1400 RPM, so 1400 over 2400 full speed times that 1.3 gives you 0.758 miles per hour. But we don't want miles an hour because according to the specs here, the crowd speed, although I would probably call it crawl speed, is 0 through 40 feet per minute. Well, so to take this miles an hour, you take the time over 60 minutes in an hour, and then times 5,280 feet gives you 66.73 feet per minute. So it's close, 66 versus 40. I suppose if you weren't going all the way down, you could probably run in first gear. It would probably get along okay, but I like being able to pull myself through, because if I feel it going into something a little harder to get through, or if I feel that rock, I can easily back myself up. It's kind of almost like giving you a sort of pseudo hydrostat transmission on there, which the 1855 does not have. So it would be neat if it did. I had thought about trying to come up with a way of putting the hydraulic motor on like the pinion of the transmission of the tractor, but without having the long pinion shaft, which was available. Usually they would couple that with the mechanical front wheel assist, but without having that, I don't really have a good way of hooking it up. And plus, if you ever wanted to, if you're done trenching, you'd have to get off, uncouple it, and then go drive in the regular gear, so that you're not trying to drive that hydraulic motor with your transmission. Anyways, another option that I would like to try, because I do have a couple more trenches that I want to dig. One of them is probably, 100 feet. And something that I would like to try is, I've got a couple wheels that have the bar tread on them. And I'd like to mount them basically on the front of the trencher there, in between where the tractor and the front of the trencher are. Because for one thing, the discharge auger that's on the right side, that pushes the dirt that the trencher brought up, pushes it off into a pile on the side. If you let the 3-point down far enough, it will start digging into the ground, and then you're kind of working against yourself there. So I'd like to have those wheels there to keep it level and keep that auger from getting down into the ground. And also I could hook up a hydraulic motor and some kind of gear reduction on those. And I've got like a flow control up out of something else that I could probably use to crank the speed up and down, and hopefully kind of pull itself forward that way. I don't know if they'll get enough traction, or if I'll just have to run one wheel in the front. Anyways, that might be something that I do later. I don't know. The bucket thing works pretty good though for now. But anyways, thanks for watching the FrankenTrencher series. I also thought that I'd maybe cover a little bit of my thoughts on a trencher in general. Trenchers, you don't really see too many of them these days anymore, and I think there's good reason for that. They're really good at making a trench, but that's really all that they're good at. So, the trench, you have to have access from the top down, and it seems like everything nowadays, if you're just running a pipe or something like that, it's directional boring. If you were gonna buy one machine that you could use for doing stuff like that, you'd probably be better off getting a backhoe or a mini excavator, because, you know, even though you disturb the soil more, you can get pretty small buckets, but you can also do lots of other things with a backhoe or a mini excavator, and you can't really do any of that with a trencher. But I mean, if you were just going to be, you know, laying some kind of pipe that you had to roll out that you couldn't pull through with a directional boring, I suppose, but you know, that'd be another piece of equipment that you'd have to maintain, haul, and store, and kind of another liability that maybe you'd have to have somebody else to run it or who knows what they're doing. You can't really feather the trencher. Like I ended up, I dug through a power line that I forgot was buried that goes out to the well. It's okay, I don't actually use my well. It was on, and it tripped the breaker, but I forgot that it was there, and you know, it just dug right through it. And you know, a mini X or a backhoe, you might be able to see it as you're coming up on it. I don't know. You know, it works. It gets the job done. If you have one, by all means, use them. They're better than a shovel. But if you're looking for something, I don't know that I would buy a trencher. That being said, I may end up trying to sell this trencher because I've got another project too, which is called Franken hoe. So stay tuned. I've got to do some work to that before I use it again here. But anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching along with the FrankenTrencher series. Catch you on the next time.